Right, here we are, a little recording. Is the, it's 7:15, the 25th of the 10th, 2021. Not sure why that's not focusing. There we go, we'll get, oh, I'm not sure what's going on, there we go. That's time. I'll spin that round. No, I won't. Greetings all, Norm Cons here. Hope you're doing well out there. I thought I was supposed to be on a Zoom meeting at this particular time, but somehow I think I've mucked up the times and the day I was supposed to be on. But anyway, here we are. So I was going to do the finale talk on common law and what is common law. So it seems that I'm having to record this in and of itself without the Zoom audience. I'll go over a few things and we'll run you a few things that will give you a little bit of ammunition when it comes to dealing with the authorities, assumed authorities, and their laws, rules and regulations, acts and statutes. Okay, so I will start off as I usually do, saying caveat emptor. Caveat emptor is a Latin term. It means buyer beware, as the Greeks would put it, or the Romans would put it as let those that be deceived be deceived. Mundus vult decepitur ergo, is let those that be deceived be deceived. So what that really means is that, you know, if I tell you in nice flowery language that I'm going to come round to your house and eat all the food in your fridge, and I'm going to park up on your couch and I'm going to enjoy that food while I'm watching your TV, and then I'm going to maybe listen to some music as well on your stereo, and then I'm going to load those appliances into the back of your car, and I'm going to take your keys and I'm going to drive off with it. That's what I'm going to do. Now, if I'm using nice and flowery language that you don't quite comprehend what it is I'm saying and explaining to you, then more the fool you. Now, another way we look at that is, for example, if I tell you that my vehicle is worth, you know, $50,000, and you purchase it and drive down the road and it shits itself, then you bought the lemon. So that's due diligence. So that's buyer beware. Okay, let those that be deceived be deceived. So when you understand those concepts and you understand the other aspect of the language that we're using, which is words, of course, and English language. The English language is known as an equivocal language. The word equivocal is synonymous, meaning the same as, with duplicate, unclear and vague. That's why the North Americans said that white man speaks with forked tongue. Now, words cast spells. That's why it's called spelling when we use the letters. Letters are a challenge. If you look to the old definition of the word let, and words are energy. So we have to use them wisely. Now, so what's happening is that we're getting duped into contract, okay? So the basic tool for the manipulation of reality is the manipulation of words. If you can control the meaning of words, you can control the people who must use the words. And as we have in the Bible, we say, in the beginning was the Word. I think it's John 1:1. What are words? Words are the sound vibrations written with characters in the form of letters, and that's called spelling. And we read them to gain understanding, and they have more power than you may realize. Okay, now what's happening? What's happening is that we're getting conscripted into contracts that are getting us into all sorts of trouble because we're stepping outside the jurisdiction of the common law. Okay, now I'm going to just quite clearly show you how common law was established by Sir Edward Coke. Now I'm just going to turn this around so you can see this, hopefully. Excuse my mucking around here. So, this says, the common law of England is known by the various appellations of right, common right, public right, and communia justicia. The French call their municipal law droit, which signifies right. In the Statutes of Westminster, 2D Cap 1, the common law is called common droit, and in Magna Carta it is called rectum. And therefore, when it is said a man has a thing of common right, it is always to be understood that he has it as by the common law. And it is further held that the common law is called common right, because it is best and most common birthright, that the subject hath for the safeguard and defence not only of goods, lands, and revenues, but of his wife and children, his body, fame, and life also. An act of Parliament made against common right or common law is void and impossible to be performed. For the law is reason and equity to do right to all, and to preserve men from wrong and mischief, and will never make construction against law, equity, and right. The rule being legis constructio nenquam facit injuriam. And herein, says Sir Edward Coke, the excellency of the common law is to be observed. Now, Sir Edward Coke was an English barrister. He was a judge, politician, and Chief Justice, and was a regular speaker in the House of Commons. He was considered to be the greatest jurist of the Elizabethan and Jacobean eras, from 1552 to 1634, and he fought to prevent royal interference with the independence of common law courts of England. Okay, so this guy knew what he was talking about. Okay, let's move on a little bit. What else did I have there? Wait a minute. Okay, so let's look at a little bit of legislation that shows us quite clearly that common law is accepted within the legislation. Now maybe we should just quickly actually define the common law, which is really, really simple, folks. Now you see, what's happening is we're being confused by the different jurisdictions. And what's happening is through our own ignorance, we're being duped into, through joinder contracts, out of one law and into the other. Now, so common law is extremely simple, and it's incorporated in any religion and all religions pretty much the same. And that is quite simply, do not kill, do not steal, and do not deceive. Now, they could be encompassed in quite simply, do not deceive. Excuse me. So what's happening is that we're being consigned, because we're signing ourselves over, because it's part of the script. We're being conscripted into contract without us actually knowing. And what's happening is we're getting outside of that law, which is the biblical law, and we're getting caught up into the legislation or law. Now, I'm not a religious man, but I do believe in a creator and a higher source, and there's something bigger than all of us going on here. There's no two ways about it in my mind. So, but what's happening is that we've been educated through the schooling system, which is a government system, and we must understand that any government system that's livelihood is essential for the people not understanding things is not going to create a schooling system that is going to be there teaching you how to take full advantage of that system, or how that system actually is taking advantage of you. So what's happening is we're getting conscripted out of the common law jurisdiction of the living man, over into the legal fiction of the dead entities. And this is, as I say, is being done. It gets done through the words, and it gets done through trickery and deceit, ultimately, because it's non-full disclosure. what's actually happening is that you're being deceived by a lot of the words that are being presented to you in the contracts. And there's also lots of things in terms and conditions. Now, over here in the common law, the common law is very, very simple and very easy to understand. It's called common because ignorance of the law is no excuse, and that's why ignorance of the law is no excuse, is because it's common. It's common law. We understand it inherently. It's I think I've got that word there. Maybe I haven't. Anyway, it's inherent. That means it's in here. It's in our hearts. It's in our beings. It's in our spirits. It's in our knowings. Not to deceive people of life, their property, or do harm or cause injury to people. That is the common law of the land. Cause no harm. Cause no injury to person or property, to another human being, to another fellow man or woman, or their property. Okay, so that's how we're supposed to operate, and most of us do. Most of us don't want to cause harm or injury, so we want to remain over here in the law of the living. But what's happening is we're being conscripted through our own lack of understanding about filling in forms, and we get informed by applying for different things. So what we're actually doing when we apply for something is we're begging for rights we already have over here as living man and woman, and we're being conscripted over here into benefits and privileges through rules, regulations, acts, statutes, and legislation, which is all assumed authority and assumed law. Okay, it's not law. This stuff is not law. These are rules and regulations. Okay, and these rules and regulations apply to the legal fiction which is constructed through the birth certificate. And that creates a fictional entity that looks and sounds like you, but is not you. It's a nomenclature is your name. If you want to look up that word, it's a nomenclature. Okay, it's not you. It's not the real you. It's a persona. It's a person. It's a mask, which is what the word person means mask. And person in legal definition, legalese, a language which lawyers and judicial system uses, which is very, very deceptive language. Again, it looks like English and sounds like English, but it's not English. It's legalese, and it's designed to confuse the scales of justice. In fact, is what it's designed to do, and it works very, very well because most people are conscripted into it. Again, through joinder and through contracts, even though they are fraudulent. These contracts are fraudulent because there's no full disclosure. And again, this is another part of the remedy that we have within the common law, is because even legislative law or contractual law, because there's 7 precepts that must determine a lawful, legal, binding contract. And if one of those precepts is missing, that nullifies the whole contract. Okay, so what's happening is we're getting through not understanding, through the caveat emptor, through the buyer beware, we're conscripting ourselves over into these contracts that are binding us in all sorts of terms and conditions that in actual fact we had those rights to do in the first place. And this whole system over here is it's legalese, it's admiralty, merchant banking, commercial law of the sea. It's to do with banking, okay, because banks control the liquid that runs to the sea, which is the currency. And so what happens is from here, through your name, through the deception of your name, it's being created a corporation, otherwise known as a person in the legalese language, which again, as I say, is not you. And a corporation, of course, is a corpse speaking. And I've got a few bits of evidence there to show you as well, but here it's quite small. We have from the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission. Hopefully you can see that, if it's gonna ever focus. Hopefully it will. Anyway, that's the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission registration of the New Zealand company registered as Her Majesty the Queen and Right of New Zealand. Sorry, that's not focusing very well. Anyway, so it's a corporation. So what's happening? What's happened is we've been conscripted from the land of the living, being freely able to move across the land with all our rights intact, and being able to contract unlimitedly as much as we want to, and without terms and conditions. Unfortunately, we've been duped into other contracts through the conscription, through filling out forms, and through all the other loopholes or hoops that the establishment and agents get us to jump through to keep re-establishing ourselves as being infants in state, in fact, because over here we've conscripted another entity to represent us, just as we do when we walk into a court of law. We're actually, when we get a lawyer to represent us, what is actually happening is that they are, all we're doing is hiring someone who's on the same team as the judge and the Crown. So we're not going to get fair representative. And in fact, no one can represent you. Only you can ever present yourself in the present, and that's what being a living man over here, operating in the living flesh and blood in common law jurisdiction. It's inherent, meaning it's in here, it's in your hearts. Most people, 99.9% of people, don't want to kill anybody. They don't want to steal anybody's stuff, and they don't want to deceive anybody. We just want to get along together and live in peace and harmony, have good friends, have a house, somewhere to live, and good food. That's pretty much basically what most people want. But unfortunately, through the conscription, through the Crown, through this corporation, it's got us into all sorts of trouble. And of course, everything runs in the triune. You've got the judiciary, legislature, and the parliament there. So that's how things roll there. So you can see quite clearly that the action statutes here, this one here is the Imperial Laws Application Act, quite clearly states here, and I can get it to focus again, application of common law of England. After the commencement of this Act, the common law of England, including the principles and rules of equity, so far as it was part of the laws of New Zealand immediately before the commencement of this Act, shall continue to be part of the laws of New Zealand. So they are quite clearly establishing that common law is recognised in New Zealand. Again, that's in the Imperial Laws Application Act, 1988, Section 5. You can check that out. Here's another little explanation of common law. I'll just quickly read through this. That again just reiterates some of the stuff I've said. It's cause no harm, loss or injury. Now they are actual laws, because they are the laws of the living society. Okay, there has to be a victim in order to break a law, and that's in fact where the word crime comes from. It's cry me. Cry me. If you're crying out, if I'm crying out, that means that there's an injustice or a harm or an injury being done. Okay, so that's where the word crime comes from. So the statutory system employs police officers, otherwise known as policy enforcement officers, and an officer is an employee of a corporation or an organisation. So these are literally debt collectors. And I can actually show you that. Let's have a quick look at that. That one there, is it? No, it might be the next one actually. So here's Dun and Bradstreet. The New Zealand Police are registered on there as a company. There's the company profile. Its registered address is 180 Molesworth Street, Wellington. New Zealand Police is located in Wellington, New Zealand, as a part of the Justice, Public Order and Safety Activities Industry. New Zealand Police has 12,022 employees at this location and generates 1.13 billion in sales. Now that's US dollars. Okay, so there's a New Zealand Police there. Registered company, folks, on Dun and Bradstreet. Okay, so there's no deceit going on here. This is what it is. I'm showing you how it is and showing you what's going on. Okay, so they are debt collectors, and so the corporations, as I say, they're debt entities. They have They have shareholders or stakeholders and stockholders. You're actually the stake, of the holders of the corporation through the name, birth certificate registration process. But anyway, so they have no authority over living man and woman because they are agents of a dead entity, which is a corporation. I showed you there, it's a corpse. So how can a dead entity hold power over the living? Of course it cannot. Unless you create joinder or contract by consent, which catapults you into the land of the dead, where you become a debtor, lost at sea, salvaged by the state. Hence why officers asked, do you understand, which in legalese language, which is the language of the corporation, roughly translates to, do you consent to stand under my authority? That's what the word understand. That's why they read to your rights, and then they'll say, do you understand? And you'll say, oh yeah, of course I understand, thereby entering into a contract. So this is how they create joinder into contracts and get you out of the living man status in common law and into the jurisdiction under their criminal law. So you do not consent to stand under their authority, which means understand. So you have rights. You just void them by being illiterate and complying to the corrupt systems. The reason why their power is void is because under the statutory system, maritime law or business law, commerce, in order for a contract to be binding, there must be full disclosure between the parties involved, which at birth is your parents, yourself, and the Crown Corporation. There was never full disclosure. Thus, all statutes, acts, legislation, etc., which are legal terms, are voided under their own rules. Stop saying people are breaking the law when not complying, because it is incorrect and you clearly don't understand the game you're in. Rights are inalienable. Privileges are granted by the Crown Corporation to an incorporated person who carries titles such as Mr., Mrs., Miss, and surnames are slave titles. Do not use them. Okay, so that's how they get us into the contract, through the surname. And you'll notice there that the surname is spelled S-U-R. It's not S-I-R as in family name or an honourable, not at all. In fact, it's a surety. You're becoming a surety through the last name because it's the last name you'll ever have. That's how they get us to conscript into a joined contract. So here's a couple of little bits of information for you. New Zealand National Party. They are registered on Dunn and Bradstreet. New Zealand National Party is located in Wellington again, as part of other professional, scientific and technical service industry. New Zealand National Party has 6 total employees across all of its locations and generates 1.63 million in sales. That's US dollars. Has a total of 6 employees. See, that's quite bizarre. Anyway, that's what that's telling us. So that's the National Party. So it's a corporation, folks. They're straight out corporation and they are there to do business and make money. They are not there to represent the people. There's the New Zealand Labour Party. Company profile is Fraser House, Level 1, 160 Willis Street, Te Wellington. It's New Zealand Labour Party is located in Wellington. Business, professional, labour, political and similar organisations industry. New Zealand Labour Party has 7 employees at this location and generates $599,236 US in sales. They are the Labour Party. So they're corporations. Just another corporation, folks. New Zealand Business and Parliament Trust. Parliament, another corporation there, folks. Another establishment there, located in Wellington. Again, interesting. Key principal is John O'Sullivan, and the industry states it as non-classifiable establishments, which is rather interesting. Non-classifiable establishments. So these establishments inside the New Zealand Business and Parliament Trust are outside of the classifiable establishments. So it makes you really wonder what that is, what they are. So there. So there we have it. Bit of proof there that, you know, these things are corporations and they're there to make money. They're there to make profit. They're not there to make friends. They're there to make profit for the stakeholders. That's just simply how it is, folks. So I've got a couple other things here for you. Just again, I'd like to go over to, here's another little piece of ammunition you can have in your belt, the Bill of Rights Act, 1990. Okay, now there's some really good ones in here, of course. You know, it's not hard to arm yourself with a bit of ammunition that can really, you know, put those who are assuming authority, who are working for a corporation and assuming authority over you, really puts them into place. You know, you got freedom of thought, conscience and religion, number 13. Freedom of thought, conscience and religion. Everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, religion and belief, including the right to adopt and to hold opinions without interference. That's pretty clear. Freedom of expression, number 14. Everyone has the right to freedom of expression, including the freedom to seek, receive and impart information and opinions of any kind and any form. Pretty powerful stuff, folks. Freedom of association. Everyone has the right to freedom of association. I mean, here they all are. They're all there. Here's a good one for you in today's age, these days and times. Right not to be subjected to medical or scientific experimentation. Every person has the right not to be subjected to medical or scientific experimentation without that person's consent. There's that word there, consent, folks. That's how they're getting you into contract. It's by your consent. Can you see that? Okay, you can see that. Oh, there we are. That's the word there. By that person's consent. That's how you're getting into the contracts, folks. That's how we're getting into all of the trouble. The right to, number 11 of the New Zealand Bill of Rights Act 1990. Everyone has the right to refuse to undergo any medical treatment. That includes wearing a mask, folks. That includes wearing a mask. Freedom from discrimination. Everyone has the right to freedom from discrimination on the grounds of discrimination in the Human Rights Act 1993. Measures taken in good faith for the purpose of assisting or advancing persons or groups of persons disadvantaged because of discrimination that is unlawful by virtue of Part 2 of the Human Rights Act 1993 do not constitute discrimination. Okay, so there's some things there that don't constitute discrimination, but I'll assure you that not being allowed to go in and buy some food from a premises that is open for public accommodation and being refused entry there to purchase an essential, which is food, is definitely discrimination, folks. There is no two ways about it. Okay. Again, some more of the contents there. We have this particular document here, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, one of the important ones here. Number 3, the state parties to the present covenant undertake to ensure the equal right of men and women to the enjoyment of all civil and political rights set forth in the present covenant. Very powerful ones there. Number 6, number 6 here, Article 6, Part 3, every human being has the inherent right to life. This right shall be protected by law. No one shall be arbitrarily deprived of his life. It's got some other good ones there. So you can go and look into these yourselves. Another one there, which was quite worthy of having a look at. It was Article 17. It's that one there. No one shall be subjected to arbitrary or unlawful interference with his privacy, family, home, or correspondence, nor to unlawful attacks on his honour and reputation. Everyone has the right to the protection of the law against such interference or attacks. Okay, so that's very, very clear and very, very succinct. Number 9, Article 19 is another important one too. Everyone shall have the right to hold opinions without interference. Everyone shall have the right to freedom of expression. This right shall include freedom to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas of all kinds, regardless of frontiers, either orally, in writing, or in print, in the form of art, or through any other media of his choice. So there you go. These are pretty clearly set out there. Some more really good ammunition that the New Zealand government is bound to. Okay. Bill of Rights, freedom of right to movement. I showed you that one there. What was this one here? Yes. Let's have a look at this one here. Now, so what's happening is through the use of getting us to be contracted into the state of the name, whether it be in that one there, Capitis Diminutio Maxima, which is your all capital letters. That's not you. Let's look at this one here. Is the Crown copyright of names. Crown copyright. No, that's not what I was after. Where are we? Oh, there's the surname. So, once you're admitting to having the surname, you're contracting, because the government owns your surname, okay? You don't own it. So you'll be pillaged and plundered by the state to the day you die, pretty much, through the surname. That's how that pretty much rolls. No, that's not the one I was after. You guys can stop these at any time and have a look at them. Mortgage Freeman. No, that's not the one I was after either. But anyway, okay, some more rights, some more ammunition for you. This one here. Nobody, casual or uniformed, friend or foe, living or dead, has the right to breach your privacy. And that's it, and it's enshrined in the Privacy Act 2020. And you can just say to any officers who are asking for you to identify yourself, is this an information privacy request under the Privacy Act 2020? You say this 3 times in question, they remain silent. Or you can say, I am Crown Sovereign and beneficial owner of the trust estate, which is the name, a body corporate, 3 times, just to make these things clear to us. But let's have a look at some. Let's have a look at something else I wanted to go into a little bit further here. Was it that one? Human rights. Oh, yes, of course, we have the human rights, which is, again, where our human rights are enshrined. And we have the Human Rights Act 1993. Again, there, indirect discrimination is 165, which is just again pertaining to the situations we're in at the moment, with people being forced to wear masks, and very soon possibly have the jab if people don't stand up in time and stop the monstrosity of that scenario, which is pretty ugly. It's going to get uglier too for a wee bit, unless we can put the brakes on it. But so, that one there, what else did I want to? Oh, there's a couple of trespass notices there. What else did I want? Just show you, that gives you a little bit of information with regards to dealing with the authorities. Now, they don't have, they really don't have authority, folks. I'm just trying to find, where's the other one I wanted? Here we go. Here's the Secret Commissions Act 1910. Now, as I was explaining to you with regards to the name, so what they're actually trying to do is that they are, through the process of, even though you've conscripted through applying for your driver's license, for your resource for consent, for your permit, or for your whatever it is, your application, any kind of application is a form of begging. It's begging for a right that you already have, okay? So, and those contracts in and of themselves, they are fraudulent, because there's no forthcoming of all full terms and conditions. And as I said, with contracts, excuse me, even if one part's missing, it nullifies the whole contract. So, So what they are actually doing is they're conscripting us out of being living men into the world of the dead, okay? And when they do that, or when we do that via our consent, because what's happening is through, as I say, through the applications, we're giving our consent without any contest. We're not questioning and we're not challenging what it is that's being presented to us. And again, it's just like I said to you before, earlier on, with the state of things being, it's it's caveat emptor. It's caveat emptor, people. Just let those that be deceived be deceived. Caveat emptor, buyer beware. So again, they love to use all sorts of flowery language, and if you've seen some of my other videos, you'll see how I go through a lot of the language and the connections of the language, and how it's all a state of mind control through hypnotism, through hypnotizing, and getting us into states of anxiety and division and argument. Really, this is designed to get us into arguments and into contract, because that's how the system operates. It operates through extortion of your energy via the contracts and through all sorts of very tricky little ways and means that they have. Again, through the language and the letters, where I hope to show people how to de-sign, decrypt, and decipher a lot of those codes, and to get themselves out of those contracts and remain in the house and the land and of the living, of course, because we're getting conscripted into the language of the Phoenician phonics, the sea, the language of the sea, which is unfathomable, and we're drowning in it, and that's what's happening, and our vessels are being salvaged. Our liquidity is being drained, and all our worth and value is continually being siphoned off, and this is how we don't seem to be able to make any real gains in life and in the system and in what's going on. So through the name and through the use of the name, through the Seta KV Trust, which is a 1066 trust. I'm not going to get into that at this stage, but suffice to say, through the birth certificate process, you're declared dead. Now, what they actually do in the courts is they summons you. Now, what even the word summons means to raise from the dead. You summons the spirits. So what they're actually doing is getting you to raise your hand as being the living entity to represent that dead corporate entity that is the fictional entity, often referred to as the straw man. So what they're actually doing is they're operating in fraud, simply by trying to, because they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing, but because of our ignorance, we're getting caught into, well, we're getting caught. Simple as that. And that's why we're getting sentenced with terms. Again, these are blocks of words put together, become sentences and terms. And that's why the judges give you sentences and terms. Actually, they're called magistrates, because it's straight out magic what they're doing. They're raising the dead, and they're getting living entities to siphon off their value and give up their value and worth through fraudulent contracts via the name fraud. And you can check a lot of that stuff out on the internet, of course. So let's have a quick look at this. This is how. This is one of the legislative pieces of bodies of legislation here that gives us a bit of a glimpse of how we can pretty much nullify anything that's coming at us through these agencies, because they're operating in fraud. Okay, and it's in legislation. We just have to know how to use it and where to look. And the best thing you can do, folks, is to pretty much print these things out, have them in a folder, and you can present them to any of these agents on the spot at the time. Or even, again, you can have them on your phone, take photos of them and present them, or if you've got internet at the time, of course, you can bring them up there and then on the internet and put these people in their places. And once you show them that they are actually committing fraud and that they are liable themselves as the individuals through the legislation, I think you'll find that most of them then will start to use that discretionary power that they have and let you on your way, so to speak, whatever the situation may be. So here's one of the instances where they are actually breaking their own laws, because giving false receipt, invoice, etc. to agent and offence. Okay, so by you using your name, you are actually committing a fraud, because you're claiming to be someone that you're not. You're claiming to be an entity that is not you. You're claiming to be that fictional straw man entity, and it's getting you into trouble because you are actually committing fraud. And I can show you that here. Again, if we go to this particular book of the law and have a look here, we can see, hopefully you can see that. This is, of course, the New Zealand Butterworth's Law Dictionary, Spilo and Lexis. It's the 7th edition, I think, this one. Yeah, 7th edition. On page 236, it's got it quite clearly here. And it even references our common law, which is what we want. So it says, privilege against self-incrimination is the common law right of a person not to answer questions or produce material that may tend to incriminate the person of a criminal offence or expose the person to a civil penalty. Okay, you can read the other part there. It goes on to say, a law enforcement officer is entitled to ask questions relating to the citizen's identity and otherwise, but the citizen is entitled to refuse to give the information. Sorry about that. The camera on this phone is absolutely bloody terrible. I lost my other phone and had to buy a cheapie because I couldn't afford another one. But anyway, that's just what it is. Hopefully, well, that's it there anyway. It's on page 236 and 237 of Butterworth's New Zealand Law Dictionary. Actually, I can probably bring the meme up. I've got that somewhere. I might be able to bring that up here for you. It might be easier for you just to see it. So hopefully that's still recording there. That's still going on. Yeah, right, anyway, we'll move along here. So using the name, or using the last name, which is the name that's on your tombstone. But anyway, and interestingly enough, the lid of a tombstone is called a ledger. But anyway, so it says here, Section 6 of the Secret Commissions Act 1910 says, giving false receipt, invoice, etc. to agent and offence. So you can go and check that out. I'm not going to read all that one for you. Let's go on to number 7, which is also here, delivery of false receipt, etc. to principal and offence. You, in fact, are the principal of the trust, and so any attempts that they have to solicit, which is what they're doing, they're soliciting you. Their offer, it's an offer of a contract, of course. Everything is contract. This is all about contract and getting you to contract away by consent your common law rights, your common law jurisdiction, and your free man on the land status to move uninhibited across the land, and all those other rights that are yours by birth, and simply because you are alive and a living being. They are your entitlements, folks. And entitlement, again, is another very powerful word in legislature and that. So again, receiving secret reward for procuring contracts and offence. You need to read these and have a look at them and try and understand them. It's pretty clear what's going on here. And then I think the next one as well is a goodie. Yeah, aiding and abetting offences. Okay? Every person is guilty of an offence who aids, abets, counsels, or procures, or is in any way directly or indirectly knowingly concerned in or privacy to the commission of any offence, privy to the commission of any offence against this Act, or the commission outside New Zealand of any act in relation to the affairs or business of a principal residing or carrying on business in New Zealand, which if committed in New Zealand would be an offence against this Act. So all these contracts they're sending you in the forms of penalties and fines and they're all contracts. They're all offers to contract. And so they're getting you. You just think, oh yeah, well I was speeding, I was going 60k in a 50k zone, so I'll just pay the fine. So it's like, you've got to understand what these corporations are. They're not there for your benefit. They're not there for to help you out, folks. They are there to deter. That's simply what they're there for. I'll hold this one here. This is a case precedent that an agent of the Crown has no jurisdiction upon mankind in his natural state. Now, the following excerpt is from the 1796 U.S. North Carolina court case and tells us the true status of government laws relative to free will men. That the majority shall prevail is a rule posterior to the formation of government and results from it. It is not a rule binding upon mankind in their natural state. There every man is independent of all laws except those prescribed by nature. He is not bound by any institutions formed by his fellow men without his consent. And that's Cruden v. Neal, 2 NC 388 May term 1796. Hopefully you can see that there. So there, now that quite clearly states again, even though man creates a government, that government has no jurisdiction over men and free men. And once you claim your status as a free man or free woman upon the land, then they have no jurisdiction over you. And they are in fact bound by the legislature and the legislation that they are actually bound by. This Act binds the Crown. This Act binds the Crown. You will find that in several places there. And so finally, let's have a look at some of the... I'm not going to again read these out to you, but you can stop the video at any stage and have a look at these. So inalienable rights are the inherent sovereign natural rights that existed before the creation of the state, and still do. And first in law is first in time, folks. So that they come before anything and everything. Being antecedent to the above, antecedent to and above the state, can never be taken away, diminished, altered, or levied by the state, except by due process of law, or again by your consent, folks. Consent also does that. Nor can any inalienable right be fundamentally removed or waived by contract, whether by non-disclosure, which is fraud and unenforceable in law, or knowingly by sufferance, which is contrary to the spirit of the law and prejudicial to sovereignty. The original, permanent, inalienable rights of every man or woman include all these ones here. So you can have a look at those, and again, you can get online and check these out. If you can see those. And human rights supersede all acts and statutes. Yep. Police have no lawful right to impose a summary conviction during a road stop and seize your property without first obtaining a warrant from a proper due process court judgment. The police have no lawful right to expect identification from you unless you are wanted for a valid crime that is ordered by a proper due process court. So there's all sorts of interesting ones there. Again, you can stop the video at any time and have a look at those. So, hopefully there I've given you some ammunition to be able to present to policy enforcement officers or agents of the Crown in any way, shape or form that are going to be able to help you to continue on your way unmolested, and to be able to go about your affairs as free man and free woman upon the land. So yeah, I hope that helps. And of course, there's the shot hui that's going on, the Sovereign Hikoi of Truth, heading up to Waitangi, Te Tiri Marae, to be there on the 27th. And I wish you guys all the best, man. And let's do this. Let's do this, because we've got it. We've got it. We've got all the ammunition we need. And there's more and more people are awakening to the power of the common law, standing in your rights, your sovereignty, your jurisdictions as free men and women on the land, and exercising your rights. And once we do that en masse, you know, it's game over. Now, just on one point there, just before I leave you, you know, if such time you get a particular officer, or you're in a situation where you're possibly going to be harmed or injured or are in danger, then in those situations, then I would suggest that you comply, but you use the terms, I will comply under protest and duress. And that being the case, again, it puts it into coercion, which is not consent, and it's against your free will. So again, gives you those avenues to stay within your common law jurisdiction, retain and maintain your invoked common laws, and you know, and you remain uninjured as well. Hopefully, you might have to go through a little bit of discomfort, but that's pretty much it. Now, so you are under no obligation to give officers your name, and in fact, you're under no obligation to even talk to them, because, as I say, I've shown you that the police are a corporation. That means that they have shareholders and stockholders, and that they are there to make money, and they are not there for the health and welfare of you and your loved ones. So just beware of that. And it's pretty much, you know, it's pretty much aligned with, it might as well be someone dressed in a McDonald's uniform telling you what to do, or a whatever uniform telling you what to do. They have no jurisdiction over you as long as you stand firmly, stand your ground, stand firmly, use your word, use your power, use these documents, and also document everything yourself by using your phones and the technology that we have in our hands. Okay, so I try to remain calm. I know it's very hard in these situations, and believe me, it's a challenge for me as well to remain calm when you've got people blatantly breaching your human rights. It's hard to remain calm, but I suggest you try as hard as possible. But anyway, so hopefully that's given you a taiaha and a patu and a bit of ammunition in your belt, and hopefully we'll be able to exercise our common law rights, and maintain the jurisdiction, standing firmly on the land in common law and common unity and community and love and peace and harmony and empathy for our fellow human beings. So I'll leave it there, and you guys have a great evening, day, week, month, year, life. I'll sign out. Thanks for that. Awesome. Thanks for your time. Oh yes, just one more thing there. Don't forget to like and subscribe. There's my YouTube channel, Not the Norm. If you go under the videos tab there, there's quite a few other videos there for you to see. I am actually uploading them onto my Rumble page, which is Freeman's. You'll find me there. I've only got 64 Rumbles. I've loaded a few other videos up there, but you'll pretty much find them on my YouTube channel, Not the Norm. Anyway, I've also got a MeWe page, which is, if you just go to Not the Norm, it's my MeWe page there, and I put a lot of the law stuff up here. There was a thing about the New Zealand company there, New Zealand government, registered local government as a company, so all sorts of interesting stuff in there. Some different terms, legislation, videos, some good YouTube stuff in there for you to have a look at as well. And I've also got my Norm Collins page as well, and I put up all sorts of interesting stuff there that doesn't go down too well on the other channels, the other social media that we're being censored on. So yep, I'll leave you with that, and again, you guys have a great evening. Thank you. See you later.